everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode. And this time it's the episode of Meet the Best-Selling Author, Dr. Erin. We are so excited to have you on again, and welcome.
Thank you.
And we
It's always
also have James Bryant, the best-selling publisher,
Woo!
editor, and himself author of this Rising Relentlessly. So we're excited to have him here as well. What does it feel like to be in this energy, this space over the last couple of weeks and hitting best-selling, I think in the first 24 hours of the pre-launch? Like nobody even got to read it yet when we hit that. So how are you
Yeah.
feeling?
That was very surreal. I've never been through the process before. I just this is all new to me. And when that happened, it was you work so hard for so long on something and then it's done, but then you get to see this incredible experience happen before your eyes. And I didn't know what to expect. And when you wake up and you are a number one best-selling author, it it makes you freeze, jump up and down, and want to scream your head off all at the same time because there's so many emotions wrapped into that title because it means so much more than just that number one best-selling author. It is like it encompasses the whole journey itself. And it felt so good. And it's still sinking in because it just doesn't seem real.
I know it's so surreal,
Yeah.
even having it a few times, like each
Yeah.
time holds its own space.
Right.
And I think it's not only about the title you get and the experience that you get to share with other people, but it's about how many people pre-ordered the book and
Yeah.
got us to that level, and there's just so much gratitude around that. Do you have like a
So thankful.
special story about somebody you've connected with or somebody who's ordered your book? I mean, you're every couple of minutes I check on Facebook, you're like going to the post office again and all these things. So do you have a
Yeah.
story that you'd like to share about that?
Yeah, I just and you really don't know who's going to get their hands on it and who's going to read it. I know that there's many people who had reached out before, so I knew that these books were going to go into hands of many people that I did know. And the first experience was sending, and I didn't know how quickly it would get out. So when I sent it from the post office on a Saturday and it shows up less than 48 hours later in someone's hands and
Wow.
having it sit there, but they sent a message about the first chapter that they read, about Holly's chapter. And instantly, the connection made from that story of someone she didn't even know. And so it that to me was, oh my gosh, this is just, it doesn't, you don't even know what story or whose story or what words on the pages are going to resonate with each person. And it's really not up to us to even try to figure it out. But just to know that it resonated with her, as soon as she got it, she opened it up. And then also with the digital, we don't necessarily know who ordered the digital copy, but to get a text this morning saying that I've read your chapter, got the digital copy, read the chapter, and knowing that this person had no idea about the endocannabinoid system and what a lot of my chapter was about, and that so many of the stigmas that in the misconceptions, and then also just the other side of cannabis, that how grateful she was to have read something that spoke the truth about what this is. And so I didn't, it just was wonderful to get that message this morning and what people's thoughts are so far about diving into whether they read my chapter first or they start from front to back, back to front. It is such a cool experience, and getting these messages mean the world to me.
Yeah, and I love that with anthologies, you don't have to start at the beginning.
Right.
It's like a choose your own
Yeah.
adventure kind of book.
Yeah.
So, Erin, let's take a moment and reflect back. So, I want you to think about yourself 9 months ago. when you were signing the contract, you were saying,
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to write the chapter. I'm going to do this. I'm going to share part of my story and think about who you are today. And tell us about how your confidence has changed and how working with us and partnering with us
Mm.
has really helped that.
Get really emotional talking about this.
Okay.
I am a person who really has learned to be still in the moment when you make big decisions.
Mm.
And because I've learned what it is to be hasteful with certain decisions and where that ends up. And I, it all sometimes comes full circle and it's for the good. But when you're still, and especially with such a big decision, to say yes to something that was completely, I mean, yes, I'm a writer, but I never ever would have thought that my first book was going to be this. And it's when 9 months ago when I did say yes and took what my story and kind of what was evolving in that story at the time, even during the process of writing it, took me into a whole nother realm of where I felt called and led to be where I am now. And like the confidence of knowing full well, like my feet are planted, and no matter what that looks like and how it's actually going to happen, because I get a lot of questions of what's going to happen, like now that your book's out, what are you going to do with it? And there's so many facets of where I see this book going, but the lessons I've learned through the process and feeling confident that this book is such a vehicle and a vessel, along with my voice, along with your voices, along with the voices of people who are now reading it. I'm telling you, when they say the ripple effect, that ripple effect is already just, and especially from Rooted to Rise too, the
Yeah.
ripple effect has already started and it hasn't even been, I mean, we haven't even been what, 4 days or something like that. Like not even 72 hours. So it is crazy. And I feel so confident in feeling like this was it really was the best decision I ever could have made for myself. When you look at your family and how many hours and pulled away from life takes us away, even from our own children, our own families, our own spouses. But when you're called to do something that you know is greater than you could have ever imagined, and not knowing even what's going to happen tomorrow with it, I feel grateful. I feel honored. I feel like to be trusted with this information and be able to get it out there. That to me is a big responsibility. And I think we've all talked about the fact like we're ready for it because it's not easy. It hasn't been easy. And it just showed us through a collaborative effort. I mean, everything is always done better together,
Yeah.
everything. And I think that doesn't discount going into like being a solo author and writing something. I think because it still doesn't just take you. It takes everybody that led the person to want to talk about the story. So you're never alone in the writing process. And I've even had, I think, 2 or 3 people reach out to me and say, I really do want to write a story and I really would like to do this. And I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know who I'm going to do it with. And I'm like, I've got the perfect people.
Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate that so
Yeah.
much, and I'm glad you brought up the community thing because Wildly Free is coming out with a writer circle because we understand that it's not just anthology writing and not all the other podcasts that you guys always already did. You kept bringing up it was better to do it in community. And so you all inspired us to create what we're calling right now as a writer circle where so many of you said that you weren't done writing yet. And we don't ever want you to
Yeah.
be done writing, whether it ever gets published or not. So we're creating that community of your journey writing with other people. And so I'm glad you brought that up, and we'll have more information another day for that.
Thanks
But
for that.
I'm really glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Me
Yeah.
too. You know,
Yeah.
Erin, when you think about those authors that you were just talking about that have come to you and they're like, I think I need to write my book too. If they were afraid, and I'm sure you had that little bit of fear, right? That little bit of
Oh,
holding back on your story as you're originally reflecting 9 months ago. And you mentioned here that you learned some lessons. So if you were to go to one of those authors, one of those folks that have reached out to you, or just a complete stranger, and share with them a piece of advice or share a lesson that you learned through this process to help them to start sharing their own story, what would that be?
Show up completely messy.
I love that.
We
I
love that.
I can't even begin to tell you that the more you overthink something, the more that you lose that creative spirit. I've even had that in songwriting. Like you just, whether you write something for 5 minutes or write something for 55 or 60 minutes, whatever shows up, you just have to be super diligent with showing up and doing it. Because it is a muscle that stretches you so far. Even if I was talking about something else or writing a children's book or doing anything, any part of writing, even just sitting down writing poetry or writing a letter to somebody, you can totally overthink all of that. And I think that when you do that, when that little spirit of that little whisper that says, wow, I really want to say this. If you overthink it, what you just thought about most likely will be gone. And I always feel that if there's something you want to write about, if you don't take action with it, then your responsibility and what you've been called to do, it might be there later, but it's going to get transferred to somebody else.
Thank you so
Because
much.
if the message has to get there and it needs to be done quickly, and that person, divine intervention, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, it will be delivered through somebody else. And is it supposed to be, or did you miss your calling with that, or did somebody else get it? So you have to be really, really diligent and really mindful of when that does happen. That you don't want to just sit and wait for the perfect time. You just want to do it. Just want to start it.
I feel like you're such a beautiful messenger of truth. That kind of just hit my heart as you were talking. And it's so beautiful, especially in your chapter. There's that cross between like your head and your heart. And I think that that's so important, especially, in the profession that you're in. And we had a few medical professionals in this book. And I think that, the three of you validated a lot of parts that have been so discouraging for some of us that are not in the medical field. And so you really just gave us all a voice through your bravery and your courage and everything. So since you've been through the Cannabook experience, we have millions of offerings with Wildly Free, but specifically, this is kind of how we kicked off. What would you tell somebody who wants to be in book 3? We have 8 spots left right now, and some people wanted to be in book 1 and they couldn't do that, so they were in book 2, and there's still some people that said, "Oh, well, hit me up for book 3." This is the last and final book of this series. What would you like to share with those people specifically?
Being in the healthcare field, there are so many, especially with cannabis, there are so many facets to where this is being utilized, where this is being shared, where there is a disconnect, where there's a stigma, where there's misinformation. Then there's also the people that have been users of it, have the knowledge of it. And I think everybody comes from a place when it comes to this topic, that we can all learn from each other. And I think if someone feels led to, because it is a very vulnerable space, and we've all kind of we've witnessed firsthand some of the restrictions that can be put on even just going through certain platforms to share. And I think that right now, the more voices and more stories we can get of personal experiences, the testimonials, because the anecdotal, let's be real here and honest, that the anecdotal research is so important right now because we're so backlogged with research, and we'll never probably catch up with that because they're constantly rolling out new research. And also we know that even the sourcing of like what's being tested, we don't even know what those sourcing is for those. So if you know that you have a testimony and you have a story about using it, knowing somebody that it's helped, I think the more stories that we can get out, and I know this is the third and final one, but when we think about how many stories that will be in this anthology trilogy. Just think of like every person we give it to, that again, ripple effect. And I just think if there's just no hesitation, really kind of think and really just be still in the message. And it may not even look for these new authors. If you say yes, just know that you have a complete process and in time. Because even though we had deadlines, you still have time to really get introspective and think about where you're called to tell your story and like what exactly you want to tell in that story. And it can change. I know that I didn't, I kind of thought I was going to write about my background and just not knowing what I didn't know. And then it came into, over the last 9 months, a whole mission of creating opportunities for institutions to teach this stuff. And that to me, it was not something that I thought about 9 months ago. I didn't. It was on a smaller scale. But it doesn't have to be on a big scale. It can be your neighbor next door. It can be the person from your school. It could be a parent. It could be a loved one. So there, just if you have any spark of telling your story about this beautiful plant, don't think it has to be solidified right now. You just have to say yes and just ride the wave.
I love that.
It's like you said, start messy.
Start
Just
messy.
as we said several times over this 9 months, start somewhere,
Yeah.
but also start messy. Start messy.
Yeah, we don't like, we like to play in the messy with Wildly Free. That it's kind of in our name. So, well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to share
No.
or okay,
Just
so
so grateful. You guys are, the Lord knew what he was doing through you guys. And it's really neat to see the evolution from even, when we started this process to going back and reading your book and Rooted to Rise and knowing that seeds were being planted through those stories and just the gratefulness of being on this journey with everybody. It means the world to me and just allowing me to share my voice and changing a lot of lives. So thank you.
we're so honored. We never expected to go into publishing or storytelling. It's not either one of our backgrounds, and we're just so grateful that you guys have also been so patient as we're learning and becoming who we are to support you and learning and becoming who you are.
Yeah.
And so it's just a really nice space to be in, and you guys have just so inspired us on so many levels, and it was a calling that we couldn't keep silent. And so we just believe in listening and being obedient and moving forward. So thank you so much for being a part of this. If anyone listening has felt a personal connection with Dr. Erin, please go ahead and reach out to her. We're going to provide all of the contact information. She's an amazing resource of a wealth of information on so many levels and so many spaces. And if you just want to reach out and connect with her, but especially if you want to get a personally signed copy of her book, please let her know, and she'll be more than happy to do a million runs to the post office. We're
I
all
will.
running to the post office. I love
Good.
it. So
Yeah.
thank you everyone for listening, and please let us know if you're ever interested in telling your story with us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.